Okay, we are live. I'm adding it to the playlist now. Added, and I'm refreshing the page for everyone. Okay, you're live.
Oh, I guess so. We have to unmute ourselves.
Hello.
Hello. Hi, yes. I'm Tanitra.
Hi, Tanitra. I'm Laura.
Hi, Laura. Hi, Liz. And Azura. Is that correct?
Yes, it's Azura. Hi, how are you?
Azura, oh, beautiful. I'm great. How are you all doing this?
Very, very well.
Great. Well, this is the time where we will, I guess, have some question and answer or question and answer period after the film. And I hope you all got a chance to watch it. It's amazing how the young people really portrays, my second time viewing it, but they really portrayed real life situations, what some of our youth and adults may face. So I have some questions that I would like to ask each of you. And I'll begin with Liz. Bullying behavior and suicide-related behavior are closely related, meaning that feelings of helplessness and hopelessness could be attributed to childhood trauma experience. Do you think childhood trauma exposure is a high-risk factor for suicide-related behavior?
I mean, I feel like children who've experienced trauma really can have this feeling of like a lack of control, right? And that can really bring on this, as you said, hopelessness, helplessness, right? And when anyone, child included, gets stuck in those feelings and doesn't feel like there's another way out, then that is something that can definitely lead to a higher risk for suicide. Absolutely. And, you know, mitigating that is really making sure that that child is given the opportunity to process that trauma so that they're able to kind of work through that and those feelings don't get stuck, you know?
Yes, yes, thank you.
Yeah.
Asura.
Yes.
Would you like to add?
Oh, I think that Liz did a phenomenal job of answering that question. Yeah. I think that trauma absolutely can be one of the indicators of a suicidal ideation and even future suicide attempts. So absolutely. And the best thing is to have the opportunity to process that trauma safely.
Yes, definitely safely. And the reason why I brought that up, because the young lady, Hope, who was the main character, she was going through her own trauma. Mm-hmm. I don't know if it was really grief and loss, or if it was some other surrounding issues with her and her mom, but definitely she was going through something and probably had, you know, thought about it as well as she was trying to help others. So Laura, same question. Do you believe, or what is your opinion about if childhood trauma does impact the high risk of suicide behavior?
You know, I agree with, again, everything Liz said and Asura said. Childhood trauma, absolutely. And does that mean that everyone who suffers a childhood trauma will become suicidal? No. Will they have behaviors and feelings of depression and sadness? Sure. And everything may not lead to a suicidal ideation, but definitely the impact of that trauma left unpackaged, so to speak, or so to say, does lend itself to acting out behaviors. They may, teenagers, and we've all been there, and I haven't been one for a while, but I remember being a moody teenager.
It's only been a few years, Laura.
It's only been a few years. It's only been a few years. But sometimes we say, she's going through something or he's going through something, and it truly is. We may chalk it up to just being a moody teenager, where it has been something that a traumatic situation, whether it is the death of a loved one, loss of family members, and we're in this pandemic now. And there's so much going on that even as adults, young people, they're not getting the chance to really express themselves. And that's very traumatic. They're not able to grieve. We're not able to grieve in the ways that we normally do in terms of, we go visit and we spend time with family. And so these are very traumatic things that left unpacked can impact a child into young adulthood. If not, having the opportunity to discuss it and to talk about.
Oh my God, Laura, that is so true. And it's a great segue to the second question, because during this time, I believe we all are adults, professionals, everyone is having some type of feeling of hopelessness, just because of the state that we're in right now. And there's so much going on in our state and, of course, across the country. And our children are watching, which will impact their adulthood, as you said, because this time is also a trauma that's not considered as the common traumas, based on the research. But what we are experiencing now is definitely a trauma for adults, and definitely, I believe, identified as a childhood trauma.
Yeah.
So suicide, and they gave some great statistics in the movie as well, but suicide-related behavior is very complicated. 25 attempts for each documented death. So that means even adults and children are counted in this number. It is the 10th leading cause of death in the United States. And in Michigan, it is the second leading cause for our young people ages 15 to 24. And so we are in this crisis, public health crisis, as you mentioned, which is a very high-risk state for our children. So what are some signs and symptoms that parents and caregivers can identify to help prevent suicide during this time? Oh, Laura. I'll start with Laura first. I'm sorry.
Oh, you want to? I was gonna pan over to Asura and Liz. If you don't mind, I'm gonna pass the ball to Asura and Liz because they are doing this work every single day.
Okay. Well, Asura.
All right. Thank you, Liz. That's a very, very good question there. The warning signs. And it's so difficult in the pandemic of COVID-19 because of the social isolation, the distancing.
Oh, yes.
And even the newer generation where the socialization isn't as meaningful as it is in the Generation Xers and the baby boomers and therefore. So what you really want to do is you want to look for those signs of depression, the irritability, because depression does not always look the same in adults and children, right? So we want to look at that chronic irritability, that almost refusing to participate in, even simple family functions, not having energy is one of those clear signs of depression. It's not that child is lazy. It may be that they just have no energy because of the depression. So you want to look for those things. You want to normalize the feelings of the adjustment that we're all doing in this time. Social distancing is difficult for most of us, where we're not able to just go into the store the way we could only just a few months ago. So we want to look at those signs. We want to look at the friends. If there have been any friends recently that's attempted suicide or even completed a suicide, then the child has a higher incidence of maybe attempted suicide. So, and also keep the communication clear.
Yes.
Clear and concise.
Yes.
Don't be afraid to use the word suicide and die and hopelessness, because again, you normalize it and you give a better platform to be able to communicate feelings, even hard feelings.
Yes, so you are so right. And this is, and I hate to say it, but I guess it's kind of true for the next year and a half or so, our new normal. So normalizing what we are, or the way that we are living and the way that we are feeling is valid. And helping our children understand that what they feel as they express is valid. Before I move on to Liz, can you identify maybe some positive ways that families can reduce stressors?
I love having activities together as a family. You may only have a few people that you're able to come closer than 6 feet with in current times. So cooking dinner together, eating dinner together, blowing bubbles, coloring, even watching films like Hope 911 is a great opportunity to have those tough conversations and even, have a little bit of relaxation and allow it to be a teachable moment.
Oh my God, you are dead on. And I liked the young lady Hope at the end, or before, close to the end, when her and her mom was talking about, I guess, the death of her father, or the reason that he completed suicide. And then she got the call from the other young lady, and she said, "Yeah, I'll go. I need to get out." And so that's definitely a good stress reducer. Children need to get out. Oh, yeah. They're not meant, in my opinion, they're not meant to just stay in the house. I don't think we all are, but children are not meant just to stay in the house. So that's going to just cause more anxiety, just because they don't really understand they can't go out. What do you mean I can't go out? Can't even go outside on the porch. It's just too risky. So definitely finding positive ways as a family to do things together helps. And Liz, same question.
Yeah, so I think Asur did a great job with the signs. I'll say, if I were going to add any, maybe some individuals will actually start saying goodbye in different ways, right? So they'll start kind of telling someone even how much they've meant to them, and kind of do this goodbye almost. Or they'll give away very personal possessions. Maybe if it's a teen, they're giving their journal away, or their jacket that they love, or whatever, right? That's other kind of signs that can come up. But I think Asur did a great job at giving kind of the basic signs. I think as far as stress during this time, yes, I think another, there's two that come to mind. So one is movement is helpful, right? So I'm actually a dance movement therapist, so I'm all about the moving. And I think including movement in your life, and that doesn't necessarily have to be, a 10K or, right? It doesn't have to be this big thing. It can be a bike ride. It can be a family walk together. It can be a competition exercise in the living room, right? It can be jumping rope outside. Something, movement really produces endorphins, and that's that helps alleviate some of that stress. So that's a big. Yes. And we're all stuck, we get stuck, and when we get stuck, things stir. So to move that through is really helpful.
Yes, and too, I would add, with my other trainings, I always say, take time out and not look at social media. Take time out, maybe not look at the news.
Yes.
Give your mind an opportunity to, relearn, rethink based on the movement, based on the activity.
Yeah.
So important.
Yeah. Yes. The other thing that comes to mind too is a schedule. So I know the Children's Center kind of shared some of these schedules on social media, but this is such a chaotic time, right? And all of our schedules have been turned upside down. And all of our routines have been turned upside down, right? So developing, even if it's a new schedule, I think really offers some support and control. And when we don't have that, it can feel really chaotic. So to be able to do that, whatever that may look like for your family, can be helpful. Yeah.
I'm glad you brought that up, because I did a similar to this last evening, and we talked about the homeschool, because that's that piece thing with the schedule and the consistency.
Yeah.
And children do need that structure. And so because some may not return to that structure, consistency is so important.
Yes.
And I believe that will also help reduce some stressors from both parent and child, you know, as they work in this new normal of homeschooling as well.
Absolutely.
Because they won't have the traditional break. Normally parents, if they work outside of the home, you know, we're gone 6 or 8 hours or so. Same thing with children gone 6, you know, the 8 hours or so. And so we were really home in the evening. So this whole new way that we all here together all day, almost every day for the last 11 weeks is going to increase a lot of anxiety.
Absolutely.
Great conversation. I have one more question. So I don't think, and I forgot his name in the movie, the principal was very helpful. I don't know about you all, but initially he was not very helpful. So
he worried me for a minute.
Yes.
Making nervous.
I'm sorry, he worried me for a minute.
Yes, he worried me a lot, Laura. And so what can teachers and other school administrators or even mentors do to help minimize maybe some bullying behavior and lower the risk of suicide, you know, for their students? We'll start with you, Laura.
And thank you. It's a really good question because we want to make sure that our educators are they manage so much. Their goal is to come in and to educate. And you know, we have children who are coming to school, and I always use the word unpacking or haven't unpacked so much. So they're carrying, instead of a traditional backpack, they are carrying a backpack of a lot of emotion and a lot of weight. So one of the first things I always tell everyone, it's so important just to listen. And, you know, we love to talk. We always feel we have the answers as adults. Mm-hmm. And sometimes it's so important. Our young people just want us to listen with our ears, with our mouths closed, because sometimes it is not what is said that's so important. So listening to hear, listening to understand, educators, other professionals, anyone dealing with youth, listening is so important. Hosting events like this with 911, having awareness campaigns about bullying, anti-bullying. And I know sometimes folks say, oh, teenagers don't listen to that. They really do.
Yes.
Our young people are looking for us as adults for guidance. And so what may seem resistance is, but they're really looking for us to provide them hope and structure and the tools to be able to have conflict resolution. You know, yes. So those are the things that in schools and different organizations, we need to make sure that we're affording the opportunity for our young people. Listening, giving them opportunities, understanding conflict resolution. I always say, you know, you learn everything you need to know in primary school and really kindergarten, because that's when you start to really work on your social and emotional development, how to play nice.
Yes, that's true.
And you said a big thing. We've got to put the phones down. Our young people, they you know, this is the generation where they have this in their hands all the time, and it is really disconnecting because they're, you know, when someone is mean behind the screen, it's easy to be mean behind the screen. And you really have to, you know, young people, I would say, really just put that phone away, get off that social media, spend time with family, talk to your teachers, talk to your faith-based leaders, whoever you feel comfortable with.
I like that, yes.
You know, so put it down, but yeah, educators, teachers, youth enrichment programs, we want to encourage these types of conversations to happen. As Asura said, we shouldn't be afraid to have the conversation. It's when we don't have the conversation about bullying and depression that things slide by us. And then we said, gosh, if I only had the conversation, or we have the opportunity to talk about it.
And I, you know, I work with young people, been working with young adults for a while, and you are absolutely right. When they believe a caring adult is truly genuine and caring adult and is active listening, you can learn so much more, and they will share so much more.
They will. They really will. Thank you.
Asura?
Yes, great question. I believe that the advice I would give would be for the educators to partner with the counselors and the therapists, have an alliance and allegiance so that the bullying is not tolerated. The norm is the bully isn't tolerated, so that no one thinks they're able to get away with it. It should be stopped and it should be taken very seriously. Possibly even the platforms being held accountable for some restrictions.
Oh, yes,
the
for
bullying
sure.
is happening even outside the classroom.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. It's new. I guess it's cyberbullying.
Oh, yeah.
And so most of that does occur outside of school. But if they attend, the same school, it's brought, whatever the argument, whatever the situation was, is brought into the school. So you're absolutely right. Leah, do you have anything for us?
Yeah, I mean, I think those were great. Only thing I would add is to really, it's really easy for us to concentrate on the person who's being bullied, right? That's of course, right? We want to help them and support them, right? And then I'd also really encourage educators, community members, families, et cetera, to focus on the bully, quote unquote, right? Because odds are that individual is also experiencing similar feelings of low self-esteem. They've had their own trauma. They feel out of control, and they're at a high risk for suicide as well. Just because they're the bully doesn't mean they're not at risk. So I would throw that in there at the end to just have us think about that as well, making sure that people are looking out for that too.
That is so true. That is so true. Would anyone else like to share or add anything? In addition to what was asked?
I just want to say how blown away I am with the young people who did a fantastic job of acting. Just so impressed with the film and the message, and I was just blown away with the performance. So I just have to give a shout out to those young people. Did a phenomenal job.
Yes, clap it up for them.
Yeah.
And like I said, that was the second time, and they really portrayed truly what is happening. And even the scene where Terrence, I believe was the character, went to get a gun, and he said he was trying to protect himself, wanted to scare. I thought he was going through something with the bully, and he could have been, but actually he was using it for himself. He wanted, he was really contemplating suicide just because of what Hope had stated to him about not being available, only wanted to party, and then, got the program shut down. So he felt so much guilt for that. And a lot of children do really experience that, whether it's at home, whether it's at school. Those situations really do happen. And truthfully, it really wasn't, I don't think, because like you said, Laura, it was only a few years ago when I was a teenager as well. That's what we wanted to do. I don't think I was as mature or would have been as mature, because that's what we wanted to do. We wanted to be part of the in crowd.
That's right.
So just that weight, of him thinking that he really did something wrong.
Yeah, that was very heavy. It was very heavy.
Yeah, and that's what our children are feeling, a lot of weight.
A lot of weight. And so I know we'll have more conversation, but I want to say, if someone is having issues or concerns or thoughts, just, if you're depressed or lonely or angry, there are organizations like the Children's Center who we have someone on our phones from 8 to 8 every day. There's a 1-800 number, and you let me know when we're ready for that. But there are phone numbers and there are people on the end of the line 24/7, so that you're not alone. Just as there was Hope 911 and Hope was on the end of that phone call, there are professionals across the state of Michigan. And I believe we have some viewers even outside of Michigan. I was looking earlier in the chat. And so most states have, and there's a national suicide hotline. So never feel that you're alone, that there is someone at the end of the line, on the other end of the phone, that can talk with you, guide you, and walk you through the process. So never feel I would hope everyone knows that there's someone on the other line, the other end of the line, to be able to talk to you.
Oh, great. That's right. It is always someone. And I know when
Always.
people get to that point, they believe they're alone, but just know that you're not alone. And I'm so glad that it was also portrayed in the film when the young lady, you know, that had the new program, because he did attempt to call, but he hung up, but the call was still connected. And she called right away. And that's what the prevention is all about. When you recognize the signs and symptoms, you respond right away. So would you like to add something?
Yes. I would again like to give kudos to those wonderful actors, the writers. The message was phenomenal. I feel like they hit every point that was meaningful, right? The peer pressure, the feelings of disappointing someone, the feelings of being disappointed. Remember, the suicide is a solution. It's not the only solution to the problem, but it is a solution. But we as professionals, we can help you to find those other solutions and solutions that aren't so impactful, right? So let's find something where we can all be safe from.
Yes, I love it. I love it. Liz?
Yeah, I actually wrote it down. There was Hope said, I think it was Hope, yeah, it was Hope who said it, and I was just like, yes. So, but I don't have the exact quote because I didn't remember it fast enough. But it was that just the pain is temporary, right? And that, you know, you can use that pain to power yourself forward and to motivate yourself for change, right? And that when she said that, I was just like, oh, so good.
Yes. Hope was giving hope all the way through, even through her pain. She was trying.
Yes, she was.
And that's what we have to do, because we all experience something.
Yes.
And I remember, you know, many years ago when I worked directly with children, I was experiencing something. But it was my mission, and I think we're all in this work because it is a mission to help others. And that also helped me go through what I was going through, because I was continuing to, you know, try to make a difference.
Yes.
Laura, you wanted to give out the numbers? I can put them in the chat, the crisis number.
Sure. And Liz and Asura, remind me if I forget anything. So locally for the Children's Center, if we are accepting new families and young people every day, so please feel free to reach out to us. That phone number is 313-262-1212. We also have a crisis.
Your direct number, Children's Center?
That's the direct number to Children's Center. If there's, the Children's Center is located in Detroit, Michigan. We're right on Alexandrine between Woodward and Cass. And though we're physically not in the building right now, you pick up that phone, you give us a call, and we're doing what's called telemedicine. And you get to talk with someone like an Asura or a Liz. They'll guide you in the right direction and take you through the process. And then so we have the National Suicide Prevention Hotline. And I want everyone to write this down, because this is a number that you should carry with you in your wallet, in your purse, in your pocket, just somewhere, because you never know when you might need this and you can lend it and give it to someone else. Not lend it, give it away, give it willingly. Yes. And that's 1-800-273-8255. And I'll say that again, 1-800-273-8255. Now that's the national. So for everyone that's not, because I'm so impressed, because we've got listeners, the Union, you've got listeners across a couple of states here, so which is very impressive.
Beautiful, yes.
And it's wonderful, the reach. So that's a national number. Liz and Asura, are there any other numbers that we want to make sure we get out?
There's the one I'll also say for crisis texting. And sometimes people prefer texting.
Youth definitely would like to text.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
So there's a Michigan statewide crisis texting number. And so you would text the word restore. And that number to text would be 741-741.
741? 741?
Yep. and a counselor would respond to you.
And they text talk?
Yep.
Or
text back and forth. Yep.
Restore. Mm-hmm.
If you prefer that. Yep. Oh yeah, sorry, text restore. Yeah.
Text restore. Okay.
Yeah.
And if I got anything wrong in the chat, please correct it.
Yeah.
Thank you all so much. This was, I believe it was very informative. And again, kudos to the union for bringing suicide awareness or suicide prevention awareness to not only the Detroit local area, but across the state or across the United States. So it's greatly appreciated and needed.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. It's been great.
Yes, thank you. Have a great evening.
Stay safe.
You too. Stay safe and be well.